All right, guys. Welcome to the Melanin Alert podcast. This is your girl, Naika Owens. I am the CEO of Melanin Marketing Communications as well as Melanin Suites. And we have an incredible, phenomenal special guest today here. The young Kenny, CEO KB, the Juice Man. He goes by it all, but this man, basically through his juice company that is taking over the whole United States. I don't even want to limit you to South
Right.
Florida at this point, like Central Florida.
Cool.
How are you, Kenny?
Hey man, amazing.
How's this whole quarantine treating you?
Quarantine has been great actually. Checked off some new things I wanted to learn. Started meditating, which has definitely been a life changer. Been working out. So just actually, just taking the time to reset, and it's been a huge blessing. So shout outs to the quarantine.
Amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. We were just actually, before we got on the live stream, y'all, we were just talking about things happening for a purpose. And like you were just saying, look at all the amazing things, although it's an unfortunate circumstance for many. And I'm not saying that it doesn't allow people to get uncomfortable, but look at all the great things that you were allowed to produce in this time. So
right. 100%.
That's dope. So say that again.
I say it's just all about perspective. Everybody's in this situation. Certain people, with their perspective are going to handle it a certain way, and certain people with a different type of perspective, they're going to handle it a total different way. And there's going to be two different outcomes with the same scenario.
Right.
So
that's definitely a big one.
Yeah.
Because how you look at it definitely can determine on how you feel about it. And I'm big on self-care and mental, as above, so below. So once you put that in your mind and you start to train your mind that this is really how it is, you really start to move like that. So,
right.
Okay. Well, let's get into it. I'm going to go ahead, and we actually got a comment up here. Somebody says lit, y'all. Just before I go ahead and we get started, I'm going to give y'all a little disclaimer. If you are joining us from Facebook, be sure that you actually go ahead and hit that StreamYard.com/Facebook, just so that way we can see your comments. We want to make sure that we're seeing exactly who are submitting these comments, because we want to personalize with y'all. So make sure y'all just hit that link really quickly. That just allows us to see who's actually commenting on Facebook. But yeah, let's go ahead and let's get it started. So Kenny, let's talk about, tell us a little bit about you, and tell us more so about you and what is the juice company?
So yeah, we got the juice company that has pretty much, it came out of a personal life transition that I took back in 2017. And, it was just one of those things where I just kind of wanted to really make a shift to, my health, and, kind of did a little basic research on, juicing and cleansing. And, really, I was just making up some juices one day, had a colleague that was just around while I was doing it, tasted the juice, was nothing, I'm just throwing all fruits and veggies together.
Right.
And to have a little, effect on their taste palette. And they was like, yo, have you ever thought about, selling this? And of course, the entrepreneur mindset, light bulb goes off like, could this really be something that could be monetized? And it really wasn't until probably spring of 2018 when I really started seeing the benefits personally of juicing, on myself, on just how I felt, mental clarity and things like that. And of course I was like, you know what, let me start kind of moving a little bit of this product just to kind of see what people are talking about.
Right.
People were receptive to it. And, I was like, okay, if I'm going to really go down this lane, I need to really perfect my craft and perfect the recipe. So I partnered up with an executive chef who helped me on my flavors and,
Right.
you know, created a recipe. And I was like, okay, I got a product that I can really start moving. And, you know, as any business, you start out the trunk moving, you know, my product,
Right.
you know, from our past, you know, walkthroughs and working, you kind of saw how that came about, and really just kind of really started to just kind of educate myself on this. You know, I wanted it to be different. Started to see how, you know, the juice industry works. And, you know, really the biggest thing that I saw was a problem. And the problem was juices were hella expensive for no reason.
Mm.
And, you know, the part of town I used to live in, you know, I'm like, okay, most of these people aren't going to really be able to afford, nor would they care to pay $9 and $10 for some juice.
One juice at that.
One. So I was like, you know what? I know the effects. You know, I've felt the benefits of it. I feel like, you know, being in underprivileged, you know, neighborhoods and communities, they need access to this. So I'm like, okay, well, if nobody's going to bring it, you know, to these sections, why not just create it and build that? And that's where the juice company really just was birthed. It was birthed out of seeing that they're seeing a need and wanting to actually, you know, fill that need and find a solution and create the solution versus waiting on somebody to bring it.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's incredible for you to be able to identify such a need in your community and actually be able to supply it. And tell us a little bit. Funny thing. Let's talk about how you mentioned. So everybody, if you aren't aware, not only do I do marketing, but I also do desserts. So me and Kenny had the privilege of actually working together. Keep in mind, I'm around here trying to sell off these banana puddings and this not the healthiest type of things. And then you have Kenny that's going around here that's selling these health juices. So it was really dope to see you kind of start from there. And I didn't even know that you were really just starting, to be honest.
Yeah, that was literally that was literally ground floor. That was ground floor. That was just me seeing that I had something that had a little nice flavor to it. And the idea from the day I just started juicing, that one day in 2017, it always stuck with me hearing that person say, yo, have you ever thought about selling these? And, you know, as an entrepreneur, certain things that you hear stick with you. And, you know, really seeing this as a you know, a consumable commodity, I'm like, okay, if I got something that tastes good, that, you know, really helps people, they're going to buy this repetitively from me.
Right.
And I'm like, as a businessman, why not, you know, go down that lane? I haven't seen, you know, a juice company do or have the certain things that I'm looking for. So why not start it, you know?
Yeah, definitely. If you can't find it, go out and start it. That is, I want to say, a key line for entrepreneurship. Like if there's not a lane for you, especially because there's no blueprint to having a business, or there's no blueprint to say, if you take this exact route, you will be here. Like I've read a couple of things that say that there's a collective of like little small things you could do, but there's really no route to say, hey,
there's no cookie cutter. There's no cookie cutter like blueprint to entrepreneurship. Like that's because entrepreneurship is an adventure. It's a life adventure. And that's the thing. It's the thrill. Like if it was a cookie cutter situation and a cookie cutter, you know, endeavor to go down through it, there's no excitement, because there's a lot of things you go through, you know, when you pursue whatever it is that you're doing as an entrepreneur. You know, and really the cool thing I love about entrepreneurship is really just like the personal development aspect, because by the time you get to that quote unquote grand prize, you have had to elevate to a higher like version of yourself. Like there's no way around it, you know, because so you
would say that being a great entrepreneur means that you also have to balance with your personality and being a great person in general. Can you say that to a certain extent?
100%. 100%. Like, because of the fact that, you know, again, as you go on this journey, you're elevating. And most people, you know, like me personally, you know, I think about like Now, my whole thing is attaining the certain goals that I have for myself. I'm more excited about the person that I'm going to become by the time I get there. Because number one thing is that my level of thinking is going to change.
Yeah.
Real talk. Like, you know what I'm saying? You want to get a bag for $5,000, you're going to have a $5,000 level of thinking. You know,
absolutely.
There's a side note, you know, I got a real estate deal that's about to close, and that's $5 million. And I will tell you, just in that experience that I'm having, my level of thinking has totally shifted. And it's crazy
because you know it's possible for you now. Like,
well, absolutely. But the thing is that it's two different levels. The transactions require a different level of the version of you. $5,000 transaction, a $5 million transaction. You have to elevate to that level, and all it does is just make you a better person. That's the coolest thing. That's the things that people don't really think about. They just think about the money. They just think about, you know, the tangible monetary things. And I think that's just like the beginning phases of entrepreneurship. But when you you're really on this path and you're really on this walk, you really start to see the bigger picture. And I mean, entrepreneurship is one of the best arenas to really bring out the greatness that you have inside.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, speaking of you and your real estate, I'm going to top into a question on that. So how did you merge? Because you started out in the real estate industry and you then merged into agriculture and urban farming and getting your juice company. So how did you go from real estate to saying, like, was it that side hustle, the fact that you just seen a need, or like, do you still do real estate, but you just told us that you're getting ready to close $1 million deal. So,
well, I mean, the biggest thing that it's like the number one reason why the entities have merged is ownership. Like for me and my juice company, you know, I learned a very valuable lesson 2 years ago from the late Nip Hustle about vertical integration. And that's a very important aspect of business and entrepreneurship and that's having complete ownership. So the reason why I really kind of started to tap into real estate was because I knew that real estate was going to be a very valuable part of my business as far as ownership. So I said, I can go ahead and outsource, you know, and buy my produce from, you know, other entities, even other local farmers. Right. But I said, you know, really vertical integration is about owning that. So of course, you know, number one thing, what's the number one entity that you have to have when it comes to agriculture? You have to have land. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna own every part of this chain, starting from the land that I grow my produce on to the produce that I'm actually growing that's going to go into my juices. I'm going to own every part of the chain. But I didn't just want to own it. I wanted to actually be fully educated in it. So 2018, I had the first opportunity to open up and create the first, I think of its kind, actual farmers market on an actual 20-acre farm in Apopka through this nonprofit that I was working with at the time. And I mean, really, you know, I'm from Washington, D.C. I mean, you don't have farms for miles, you know, from D.C. So for me personally, it was a great experience because then I got the, you know, first-hand experience on agriculture and farming. So it's like, okay, now not only am I owning every part of the entity of my company, I'm actually being, you know, educated and I'm learning, because if I can learn something, I can teach it. And teaching agriculture, you know, in urban communities right now, man, is definitely a big need for it. So that's why I did it. That's why, you know, the biggest thing and the most important commodity that you can own as a human being is real estate. So I said, as an entrepreneur, I said that sometime in my life, I'm going to definitely have to own it. But it just kind of, you know, aligned to where in which when it came to my business, I wanted to tap in early, because if you have any type of commodity and you can own the entire process from manufacture to consumption, there's a lot of dollar bills that can be made versus, you know, hashing it out to other different brands and other different entities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So a very key important fact that Kenny just made, y'all, is definitely if you have a business or you're thinking about owning something, make sure that you own everything 100%. For those who are kind of like, what is this man talking about? Very similar to music. a lot of you guys know about independent artists and people who are actually kind of like slaves to their labels. That's the difference. You own and you keep all your money. And what he's done is he's done that with his business. So that is a round of applause for you, because that is absolutely incredible. And if you can, like you said, you learn that, you can teach other people that. And I think that resources and being able to learn that in our culture is super important, because we don't have a lot of people to ask these questions or show us how to do it.
Right. I mean, the number one perspective, the only reason why I went down that road is because of that one word, ownership. Like, ownership means so much to me. Like, I have to, like, when you really understand the value of ownership, then your mind goes to a whole total different way of thinking to make sure that you can have complete ownership and complete control. And it's not the easiest route to go. It's a slower process, but it just depends on what you're doing. You know, my juice company is a long game. That's why I was willing to take the slower route to make sure I could learn real estate, learn how to buy up land, getting to agriculture, learning how to actually produce crops. Because again, the long term of having complete ownership was the end goal.
Yeah. Incredible. So speaking of ownership and the fact that like you have in this business, now my next question is, did you have a support team? Or even if you had a support team, how do you handle adversity and doubt?
Well, crazy thing to say is that a support team really didn't show up for me until like maybe like 2 months ago.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Wow.
and it changed everything. It changed everything from a logistical standpoint, to see how quickly things can move. That changed everything in my business. Now, adversity and doubt. You know, like one of the things is that adversity and doubt is going to come, but it only comes to really test your belief on what you're doing. Like,
that's a big one.
People can be doing things, and I love it. Like, I tell people, like, yo, you're going to go through it. Like, there's no going around it. There's no hiding from it. You're going to do it. You have to, and you have to either take it head on. And because all it does is it's just a test to see if you really are about what you're doing, or is it something that you're just trying to, do for the glitz and glamour. It happens, adversity. I mean, being a real entrepreneur, man, you got to be wired a little certain kind of way. You got to be built for it, because that adversity is going to come.
Absolutely.
It is going to come. It's part of the process. It is part of the recipe. But when you have your mind right, you have your perspective right, and you have your motives right, and you understand, again, the whole thing about entrepreneurship is about elevating. You go through that adversity because it's gonna then elevate you to a higher level as you get closer to the end goal, because you've learned something from it. All adversity is a learning opportunity if you have the perspective. That's all that it is. Because every time I've came out of a moment of adversity, because I know my number one thought is, okay, what did I need to learn from this?
Right.
The valuable lesson every time. But real talk, a lot of people aren't built for it. A lot of people get hit with a little bit of adversity and they fold. But unfortunately, the reality is that whatever that adversity was in involving what you were doing, it just really exposed you to the fact that you weren't really ready for what you were doing.
Yeah. Or that I feel like it either makes you or breaks you, like we said earlier. Because 100%. I've seen people who have risen to that expectation. Like maybe they had the ambition, but they really weren't ready yet. But with that will and determination, and the fact that they kept going really did allow them to meet to where they needed to be. So instead of having these $5,000 conversations, they're now having like much bigger, you get what I'm saying? Because it's grown. So
of course.
That's definitely. So what would you say in your field or your line of business, or it could even be with you too? What is something that people often misunderstand when it comes down to being in a farming industry or agriculture? You can even talk about real estate, but what's one thing that you notice is a big misunderstanding in your line of business?
Biggest thing is that in my line of business is that, the type of communities that I plan on serving aren't people that are going to want to spend money with me, because for whatever reason, I don't know where that theory came from, but most people think that, juicing is only meant for like the higher end affluent communities. But last time I checked, money gets spent in it doesn't matter what type of demographic. And if you got a great product, anybody and everybody's going to buy it.
Especially when it comes down to food and drinks,
especially when it comes down to food and drink, so that's been like the biggest misconception is like, why do you want to only open it here? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a businessman. I'm not just opening it in urban communities.
Right.
I'm not, but that's going to be my tailored focus as far as having an actual physical location, because that's a problem that needs a solution. And, in the interim, everybody else is going to be, benefit from it. But it's just kind of crazy, man. Like, they think that only things that should be accessible in the neighborhoods are, Burger Kings, Popeyes, bodegas, and, liquor stores. Really? You're telling me that you can't put a juice bar in a project housing community and you don't think people are going to go there and they're not going to enjoy it? Cool.
That's crazy. I know for a fact. I mean, just with the turn of events, but if you've been to LA, Jamba Juice, we love us some Smoothie King. Like, juicing and smoothies are on the rise right now. And definitely, I think that when it comes down to a good product, like you said, we will pay for it. It just has to be there. And I know for a fact, like down here in South Florida, our Six Trump area, we now have the Southwest Gardens. It's a community that they actually have an urban farm there that they have built up. But a lot of the time in that community, you were getting probably C or D type of meat, type of produce, because all the other products was going to a good place. So
right.
it depends on like what city you're in. You can see the significant difference in the quality of food.
Of course.
And we want to live. I think that we want to live just as long as everybody else. So therefore,
right. And then to kind of answer your question again, like, so when it comes to like the misconception as far as like agriculture as well, and farming and gardening, that you have to have a big plot of land, to do it. Most people, if they live in the state of Florida, where you and I reside, they know that the legislation has been passed where you can take a little piece of your front property or your porch or your street, and you can grow crops there. I mean, it's not hard. Like, it just takes what do you want to do? You want to go ahead and continue to be the slave of your dollar, or do you want to grow your own stuff? My OG Ron Finley out in South Central Los Angeles, which shout out, this is a small plug. He actually has a masterclass on gardening. Y'all can look him up on YouTube. He says this, and I remember the day he told me, he says, growing your own food is like printing your own money. And it's an easy thing to do. It's just, again, it's just a matter of, do you want to learn? People use the excuse of something, they don't understand it, or they don't know how to do it, or it's this big challenging thing, because they just don't want to take the time to learn.
Yeah. I could definitely see that being a big factor for real. Right. So speaking of LA, I noticed that you went to LA, and shout outs to anybody that's watching back home in California, because I'm a Valley girl, 818 all day. I've yet to let go of that 818 number. But I noticed that you were in LA last year, around June 2019, and it seemed like it changed or was very significant to your business, whether it be your growth mentally. Like, it seemed like when you came back from LA, like you were hungrier than ever. So talk about that trip to LA last year and how it affected your juice company.
I mean, the trip to LA was very, very impactful. I'm actually going back out there next month. But it was one of those things where, I went out there to tap into Vector 90, which is the co-working space that was founded by Nipsey Hussle and David Gross. Went out there because I really just wanted to really tap into that culture and that element and really see, you know, what's really shaking out there, you know, and what's the lifestyle as far as, you know, agriculture and urban farming. I tapped in with Ron Finley while I was out there. And it was one of those things to really see that, you know, from coming from East Coast city, like Washington, D.C., going all the way to the West Coast, you could really see that like agriculture is something that is very well accepted in those communities. You know, obviously everybody in California is not everybody, but health and wellness is a very big thing. You know,
Yes.
so I kind of went out there to kind of tap into some juice companies out there just to kind of see what their model was like. But then while I was out there, I really saw the fact that, there's a real situation where health and wellness and agriculture can be not only accepted, but you can make it a fly situation. You can make it fly. You can make it attractive. And that was the number one thing that I thought. I said, for me to do what I want to do and the people that I'm going to tap into, I said, I got to really make this attractive and I got to really make it a fly little thing, so just kind of going out there, just kind of seeing just how businesses are ran out there, seeing how businesses are ran in South Central LA. It was one of those things that I took a lot of notes and I got a lot of game out there, and, being out there and linking up with Ron Finley and kind of, telling him what I had in motion as far as with my juice company and with the agriculture, he kind of put it in my ear that, hey, once you have a scalable model, why not bring it to the Crenshaw district? And I was just like, why not? And I knew going out there, and that was the motivation coming back because, one of the original ideas and visions that I had was I wanted Nip to be one of my investors and partners. And this was like maybe late 2017. I sent him like a rough concept of my juice company. I sent it to his team. And, one of the things that I was like, what, this can really happen, and, obviously unfortunate trail of events took place, but it was one of those things that kind of going out there and having the conversations that I had, it just really made me clear that what I have is something right. And it just has to come to fruition.
That's incredible. Rest in peace, Nipsey Hussle. The marathon shall continue. I want to go into our next question just based off of that. When you were like, you knew it was right. So was that your key point when you were like, damn, this right now is I'm on my right path? Did that kind of solidify you to saying, okay, I'm going the right direction? Or was there a certain other point in your career that really, how did you know when it was the right thing to do, a right idea to keep going with your company?
It's two separate events that took place probably within like the last was 2020, probably in the last year and a half. Number one, the first person that I was gonna really tap into outside of Nip was Master P. And the reason why is because probably like 2018, I was really kind of following him because he at the time had he had like a lounge down at the Airport Center in Orlando. And crazy thing about it is that he was on this whole fitness thing. And I was like, okay, so he's really pushing this, he was pushing like a 90-day challenge or something like that. And what happened is that I had went to a Laker game, Laker versus Magic. I think this is when Lonzo Ball had just got drafted. So however long that was. Crazy thing, I go there and I'm going there just for the game. I don't know who's there. I'm going there because I want to catch Lonzo Ball play. Go figure, get there. They on the loudspeaker, hey, everybody, we got Master P in the building here with Romeo and Angela Simmons. Y'all can come see him at halftime at the new Sugar Skull Rum Lounge. He's just up there hanging out, lounging. And I'm like, wow, okay. Universe is talking to me. And I said, right. You know what? I've been down this path multiple times enough to know that the universe put certain things in my plate and I was ready for it. So I went up before halftime, go up there. Of course, the waitress, bottle waitress, whatever, she was like, yo, here's one of his drinks. Oh, by the way, if you want to go talk to him, he's right there. I look to my left. He's just hanging out at the bar. So I go up, you know, and it's crazy thing about it is like when you got to be prepared. So I was suited.
You can't just go in there, just.
You got to be prepared. And, you know, your exterior always kind of says something, especially from if, you know, a person like Master P coming from where he's come from, like if you dressed a certain way, you automatically get judged. We do that all the time. So I happen to have been in a suit that day. So consciously not even knowing this, I'm like, okay, well, I'm already presentable. So I had told him what I was doing, told him, you know, I was like, yo, I've been following your 90-day fitness. And I said, hey, yo, I have a concept for a direct to consumer juice company that I want to bring to the urban cities across America. And I said, yo, what do you want to do as far as coming to open one of these in New Orleans? His number one thing was verbatim. If it's packaged right, I'll back you. I said, say no more. Package right. Yeah. And crazy enough now, fast forward now, you know, my pitch deck has been finally, you know, secured. I actually have it now to where I'm going to shop it out June 1st. And, you know, of course, we're going to revisit that conversation. So that was the first time. But the second time, which was very much more impactful, this was like May of last year. I think I can't remember. I'm always just moving, but went to New Jersey for this summit by Forbes magazine, talking about opportunity zones. And long and short of it, what's his name? His name is Sean Parker, who's like the co-founder of Facebook, founded like Spotify and all these companies. But he has a whole new entity that he's tapped into, and his business partner was there. And obviously he doesn't look like me, and told him what I was doing and told him what my plans was. And here it is, within 45 seconds, this man tells me, send me your pitch deck and I'll get you all the money that you'll ever need. Just off of a conversation of explaining what my vision was. And, you know, again, I knew from before even meeting them that I had something good. Because I knew enough and I was committed enough to this whole project that regardless of who backs me or who doesn't, this is going to manifest. And it just happened that I had something very tangible and very beneficial that's going to solve a very big problem that, again, I had a couple just influential individuals back what I'm doing. And, you know, 2020, man, it's crazy that during this quarantine is when I got my pitch deck finalized, got my business plan finalized. Everything just happens for a reason, you know. So
absolutely,
it's been a pretty amazing, you know, experience thus far, I would say.
That right there is absolutely remarkable and commendable on so many different levels, just because, like you said, you always knew. And that goes to entrepreneurs, anybody who's listening out there. When it comes down to your business, you have to be your number one fan. You have to be your number one supporter. Like Kenny said, you didn't even get a real support team until a few months ago. But
100%.
prior to that, you were all going by yourself. And think about it. We're now in 2020. So that means for the last 2 years, you've had to have the constant faith that this is going to work, and allowing yourself to be in the right position and prepare for those moments to where when you are in front of a Master P, that you know that you're confident, there wasn't no self-doubt, you are ready and prepared to sell yourself.
And that's the thing about what you do as an entrepreneur. You have to have absolute certainty. Like, you know, you have to have absolute certainty. You know, people that I talk to nowadays, you know, even when I met Master P, it was one of those things that I know, like, you know, and it's one of those things that the conversation was more of, you know, do you want to be a part of this? Not from a fact of I need your money. I just knew money was going to come regardless. And that's why I was very selective on who I talked to and who I even shared what I was doing with, because it wasn't a matter of me needing funding. I wanted to make sure that you, as a person who's really tapped in and is a pioneer, you know, pillar individual for urban America, do you really want to like take that influence and get behind a project that has the ability to really shift our culture? And because I knew I had it, because I'm the person that's bringing the solution. I'm the person that's building this solution. So I just wanted to see, okay, like, are you about it? You know, and that's the thing, like when you have something and you know that it's going to be really influential and it's going to change, and you're really behind what you're doing, you have that self-belief. People actually can feel that energy.
Yeah.
You can't fake the funk. But again, that goes from going back to what we were talking about before, you have to go through a lot of adversity. You have to go through a lot of that stuff because you just get built with a certain level of just confidence, not arrogance, confidence, because you've been through, you know, a lot. So it's like anybody that comes in front of you after you've been down this journey and you've passed the test per se, they're gonna really catch your vision.
Yeah, you recognize it, like you've seen it before, so you know how to handle it in a sense, and it's not so much alarming, or you just know how to move now. And yeah, new levels, new devils. Every time you progress, you definitely gonna reach a new thing to where it's gonna challenge you. So definitely, you guys, take heed to what Kimmy, you out here dropping gems today on this young podcast. I didn't know that we were in for such a treat. I mean, of course I knew just based off of your history and knowing who you are that you was definitely gonna come on here with some knowledge, but this is great. This is great for the community because it touches on so many different aspects. It touches on entrepreneurship. It touches on having faith and really believing in yourself. It touches on the type of differences of where you're at in life when it comes down to business, even how to handle doubt and how to handle people when it's just you, how to keep going and really push forward. So that's incredible.
The right people. See, the thing is like, you know, like I said, 2 months ago, I had a person show up, and when I tell you this person has literally changed the whole dynamic of what I'm doing. But you know what? The caliber of people that show up into your journey is a direct reflection of like the true commitment that you have to what you're doing. I'm talking about this person that's behind me right now, man, literally has literally, I think it's like a 35-page business plan. They had that to me in less than 72 hours. They did my pitch deck for me. They kind of schooled me to how I need to go ahead and open up a nonprofit. They've helped me apply for grants as a minority business and agriculture. Again, all in just 2 months.
But you made sure that you had that work ready, so that way when they were there, you had it all ready for them to help you with.
Correct. But I really personally believe that the quality of people that show up into your life as a business, as an asset, is a direct reflection to you as the business owner. See, I feel like me personally, I'm attracting A players right now because that's the type of person and that's the type of work that I put in. So I expect it. And honestly, like, don't expect to have that type of caliber people show up if you're not willing to do it. If you're not willing to play at that high level, man, don't expect like the best of the best to show up. Like, you can't cheat the game. Like, I think a lot of people try to cheat the game. I personally probably say I had early in my days, but just pay the price. Because when you pay the price, man, the blessings that come on the back end, they do wonders for you.
Absolutely. I just posting up all these comments here. We got some great feedback going in. A couple of people said amen. Big facts and so true. Entrepreneurship promotes personal levels for growth, for sure. And someone also said shout out to the DMV. So shout out to the DMV.
Shout out to the DMV.
Now, I want to ask you, tell us about one of the most important things that you've learned in your career so far. I know you probably have a lot of things that you've learned as a collective, but
I do, but I'm giving you something in real time, because this is my life and my journey is all real time. The most important thing that I've learned thus far is that when it comes to business, nothing personal.
Wow.
And that it's people probably don't understand that, but I'm gonna just give you a prime example. So
Okay.
doing some business right now, totally outside of the juice company, but doing it with some people that that I know personally. And I realize when it comes to business, you separate your emotions when it comes to business. So if I were to tell you, hey, Naika, I've known you for some time, but I'm about to connect you to somebody in my network to elevate your business, I'm gonna need you to go ahead and sign this paperwork, which is called a non-circumvent. I don't expect you to go around, and I expect a 30%, 25% commission out of this transaction that you do.
Right.
And I would expect when it comes to business, you don't take it personal, because
Right.
a lot of us take stuff personal when it's only business. Because you think
Like,
about
oh my God, you know me for so long, Kenny.
absolutely.
Why do I have to sign this? Like, you trust me, like, but it'd be those same people that will.
But see, when it comes to trust is an emotion. And when it comes to business, you take emotions out. So it's not a matter of trust. If you didn't see me and you didn't know who it was that was on the opposite side of this transaction, you would do it without any question. And I personally have learned this just in a matter of the past. This has probably only been like 2 weeks. This has only been about 2 weeks that I realized that you have to remove all emotion when it comes to business. So when you're talking to somebody and you're doing something that requires paperwork, hey, don't be afraid. It doesn't matter who it is. I got the person who did my pitch deck because I had it finalized and I had it really glamorized. I even had them sign an NDA just to review my pitch deck. And they were the ones that helped me create it. But see, they understood. It's just business. It's nothing personal. It's business. And I realized that's the most important thing, because what happens is that when people don't separate those two, it holds them back. It kind of stifles their decision making. And it kind of does cost them. It costs them a lot of time. It costs them effort. And sometimes it costs them relationships, because you don't just set the expectations up front. You have to wait till the disaster happens and you're trying to put out fires, versus it could have just been avoided by setting those expectations up front. So separate emotions when it comes to business, and always make sure you have your paperwork straight.
Definitely. Y'all hear them. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, big facts. Make sure that y'all have y'all paperwork straight and separate your emotions. So don't take it personal. So if your homegirl, your homeboy want to be involved in your business and you care about it and you want to protect it, make sure you are doing the right things, because it's funny how those tight conversations, especially when you talk about paperwork, a lot of us can find in people we're close to. And sometimes that don't always go a great way. So you got to just make sure that you are just prepared. Yeah.
Just have that stuff in place, because if you believe in what you're doing is a multi-million-dollar idea, venture, why wouldn't you take the right, precautions to protect it? It could be a life-changing situation. It could be one thing that you've been waiting and working your whole life for. Why would you not take the time and the precaution to protect it?
Yeah. And honestly, when it comes down to not taking it personal too, that can mean so many different things. Just for example, when I used to be in the dessert catering business, right? When I first started, I really didn't know how to do my costs, like, how much I'm making out of profit, how much I'm losing out every month, right? Yeah. So at one point in time, it was just like, I was afraid to ask people, like, I can't ask this person. This is my friend. I can't ask him to pay this amount of money when I know that this is the amount of money that it costs to make it, and I know the value. And I had to separate, like you said, separate that feeling and emotion. Absolutely. And be like, when you look at it on this piece of paper, and this piece of paper says that you spend this amount of money, but you're only getting this amount, you're not even making any profit. Something has to give. And if they care about me, regardless of whatever the case may be, is I got to feed my family too. So nothing personal, but these prices is going to go up.
Right. That's business. At the end of the day, they'll go to, I don't know, whatever the bakery is down there. Like, if you're going to go to the bakery and pay it with no fuss, it's no different. And that's the prime example of where you have to separate your emotions from business, because it'll then sometimes have you shortchange. shortchange your own self. And obviously the time and effort that you're putting in, to your product and your business, at the end of the day, either you're going to pay for it or somebody else is.
But somebody going to pay for it.
But you as the business owner have to always remember that. That's where that whole mantra and mindset of separating personal feelings and business comes into play. Because that's where I told you, you had the experience of realizing that you had to have that shift, because if you didn't, it would affect your business.
We're going to be broke. We're going to be broke. I'm about to be basically a charity because I'm just feeding the people and and I'm not making anything to feed my family. Yeah. Right. So Anton said, much respect, Naika and KP. Great point on the business, never personal. The first person to put me onto an opportunity was my barber. He let me cater meals in his shop before even knowing what the product was. So that's incredible. Shout out to Anton. He's an incredible person. I actually know this. Who's commenting is because I'm looking for my phone. So y'all see me just eyeing down for a second. Just know I ain't being rude. But yeah, that's definitely a great point. I love that key aspect of, and I think it's a great giveaway for real time. Like you said, don't take it personal. So if you got anything going on right now, take the feelings aside, look at it from a business aspect and see if you still feel the same way. So, all right. So now, being with the whole COVID-19 going on, that's a thing in itself. I feel like your business or your line of work is thriving in this pandemic, or a lot of people are looking towards people in the agriculture or urban farming or in the juice business, food and beverage, because they're trying to figure out like what they can do to kind of protect themselves, stay healthy, etc. So being that you are an expert, what would you say, because I'm an island girl, I know about sea moss, etc., but what would you recommend us to actually drink to boost our immune system or stay protected while dealing with the whole COVID-19?
Well, appreciate the accolades. Expert, not yet, but I feel like the biggest
thing into existence.
Hey, there we go. The best thing I will tell you is that, I don't take credit because I surround myself with the experts. And that's what makes my whole life. Because I am me. I am special in certain ways. But see, the best thing about what I do is the great people that I've been able to tap into. Now, there's so much that people can be doing, to boosting their immune systems, and it's a lot easier. A lot of it's really a lifestyle change that people have to really start doing, because it's not a one-time thing. People think that you can just down a couple concentrated juice shots and you good. No, you can compromise your immune system is compromised by all the stuff. Pollution, air pollution, food that you're eating, social activities that you might indulge in. All those different things compromise your immune system. So it's not just a matter of what you're putting in. There's certain things that you got to take out. But I will say, just to make it easy, certain things that I take like every single day religiously is I take, number one is black seed oil. Black seed oil, what that does is that pulls out a lot of the compromised mucus that's in your body. A lot of people don't realize is that the COVID-19 virus was an attack on like the immune and respiratory system. So if you have a whole bunch of mucus that's in your lungs, that's where you're going to have a lot of compromise. And a lot of people had that same issue. So if you're somebody who smokes, take black seed oil, because what that does is that pulls that mucus out. It doesn't taste good, but hey, what tastes good is not good for you, and what's bitter is what's probably beneficial. So black seed oil, you can. I also take. I take a whole bunch of stuff, but the easiest things I take echinacea. I'll take that in like a tea. I don't take echinacea all the time. I'll just kind of take that when the seasons change, but I'll put that in a tea. I'll also elderberry. Elderberry you can find as well. You can find that in the concentrated serum, or you can get it in like a granulated and just press it into a tea. You can take that. I also take what else do I take? Golden seal, which is definitely another beneficial for the immune system. Whorehound, you can take that if you have like more issues, just kind of, with your esophagus. But those are things that I personally take. Black seed oil, I live by it. Oil of the oregano, I live by it. And those are things that I take every single day. Every single day. Get that in your system. Another thing, and I actually just kind of had hip to this. I was doing some research today. I was actually reading a book today and just realizing that there's a lot of different actual green leaf vegetables that actually help. But it's called spirulina. It's a blue-green algae that's very potent. Helps with the immune system, helps with the amino acids. And these are things that you can literally find, whether it's at like your local herb store, go online. You can find this stuff on Amazon. It's not going to really break the bank at all. Just really start that regimen, and drink a lot of water. Because when you're taking these products and you're taking these herbs, the water helps by flushing everything out the system and getting everything that's beneficial to your body into your system. So from the herbs to consuming a lot of water, and then just kind of like scaling back on some of the social, activities that really kind of compromise your immune system, really just make the difference. And I will tell you, people got to change up the shit that they're eating, because a lot of people don't realize that you just think you can just eat whatever you want, do whatever you want, and you're okay. No, it's not. You can't have the best of the both worlds.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? You can't. Your body is a machine. It runs just like any other machine based on the type of fuel that you put in it. And the more foolishness that you're putting in your body, it literally makes it a magnet for anything and everything that's detrimental to your body. Now, I'm not moving around reckless, but I probably have worn a mask maybe like a dozen full of times. Because my immune system is so strong that it's literally like it repels. It repels or it fights off whatever is getting into it, because I've taken the time to build it up. That's something that you have to build up over time. And your body's going to feel a whole total different way once you've done it. So I highly encourage everybody, man, jump on that black seed oil, jump on that oil of oregano just to start off. Jump on that elderberry. You can find those things and you can take them every single day.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. So you heard KB, the juice man, his recommendations from his personal experience and his knowledge and wisdom. So definitely gonna have to jump on that oil and see what it's about, because that was the first time he heard. It's black castor oil or African castor oil that I use in my hair. But
yeah. You can see, that's the thing. See, we take care of our outside. We glammed up, getting hair done, getting haircuts, getting this jewelry, this and that, but we treating our insides like trash.
Horribly.
Like, bump that. Like, no, and that's a priority shift that needs to take place. If you're gonna spend all this bread on glamorizing your outsides, your insides better be looking golden. Because at the end of the day, I mean, I don't want to see no person in a dialysis center with all this jewel. I'm looking at you like, what have you been doing with your life and what you've been doing?
Priorities. Yeah, definitely got to make a shift. So we getting ready to wrap up our podcast here. I got one last question that I like to ask, and will be a continuous question for all of my guests on my show here at the Melanin Alert podcast, just because we have so many people from all walks of life, but we definitely want to always keep that dialect open. I feel like wisdom comes over time, and being that we have a lot of younger people who also follow this network, a lot of you and myself. So I want to know, if you could turn back time and tell your 18-year-old self, your 18-year-old Kenny, one thing, what would you tell him?
Think for yourself at all times.
What do you mean by that?
At all times. Meaning that when you're going to have so much noise coming, at yourself, people's, opinions on what you're doing, family, colleagues, friends, thinking that they know what's best for you. you think for yourself at all times. Because when you think for yourself at all times, you really know what's best for you. Your thoughts are pure. Your thoughts are not being manipulated or being, what I like to say, polluted by outside influences. Because if you don't have, because you have to live with the decision of what you've made. Mm-hmm. So when you're thinking for yourself at all times, you know that whatever decision you're going to make is completely pure. It just allows you to move in a certain way where you're at peace of what you're doing. So think for yourself at all times, because it took me a little second. The reason why I say I would have told myself that a lot earlier is because, I had opportunities that were presented to me way back. And again, I didn't think for myself. I let the influences of other people hold me back from pursuing other ventures that I would like to say, just on a business realm, it cost me a lot of money. When you're not thinking for yourself, it will cost you. It will.
Absolutely.
And, you just got to be comfortable. You got to be comfortable with yourself. That's the thing. It's all about security. Because a lot of people, I think in our day and age, in our culture right now, we got a lot of people that's moving with masks. And when you're moving with a mask, that means you're not really secure in who you are. If you're secure in who you are and being authentic and being who you really are meant to be, it means you trust yourself. You trust your decisions you make. You trust your way of thinking, and you know that, okay, what's best for me, I know what's best for me. And when you're secure that way, you move with a certain level of clarity and like assertiveness that people can see it. So don't wait, don't delay on thinking for yourself. If you're confident that what you're doing is right and you're confident that you got, greatness inside, keep it pushing.
Hey, that's it. Keep it pushing and think for yourself. So for all you out there right now who are in the midst of any type of struggle or anything, just keep in mind to always put yourself first, to take care of yourself first. Your body is a temple, so treat it as such. And make sure you take nothing personal, okay? Don't take it personal when it comes down to business. So I want to thank you, Kenny, for coming on my show today. It's a pleasure to have you. It's a pleasure to know you and be able to have conversations like this that I'm sure will help and has helped somebody on this live. I want to shout out to somebody said they were like, they love black seed oil. It's nasty, but it's good for you. And that they do the sea moss as well. And then someone said oregano is good for the eczema too.
Yep.
Which is a whole nother thing, because honestly, if we being honest, eczema really didn't, and I'm sure it existed, but now it's like every kid is born with almost eczema versus back in the day, you didn't even really know what eczema was. So that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But tell the people, you guys can follow Kenny at KB the Juice Man, but let them know, do you have anything that you working on right now that you wanna shout out, any shout outs, anything you want to promote really quick?
Yeah, I mean, just tap into the IG, Instagram, KB the Juice Man. I'm working on a specific marketing campaign right now with Brian Leslie. And I'm going to be actually sending out my pitch deck strictly peer-to-peer. So I'm going to be sending it out. I'm going to be actually running the campaign off my iPhone. So follow me at KB the Juice Man on Instagram. That's where we're going to actually have the first drop for my pitch deck. I'm going to actually be working on a side crowdfunding as well. So we're going to push all that out through the social media platform. And that's all going to be coming out June 1st. And I mean, if anybody got questions on whatever, hey man, I just want everybody to come up, because I know how great life is when you're able to actually, enter to your greatness. I didn't get here on my own. So, I'm an open book, open vessel. I don't got all the answers, but, I definitely think I could just, help whoever is really seeking, because seeking you shall find, but you just got to make sure that you got somebody that really has already taken the steps ahead. And that's how we really come up as a culture, is just by holding each other down and just sharing the game. So that's it.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming on our podcast today and sharing the game. And again, thank you for all of you that have tuned in today. We'll be doing the Melanin Alert podcast every single week, and I'm super excited to have it to where we bring people like Kenny that can actually come out, prepare, just talk about himself, but also provide business gems for life, and such valuable information. So again, every Thursday, 6 p.m., you can find us right here. Even after Corona done came, gone, then went, we'll still be here every Thursday.
There we go.
And again, thank you guys for tuning in. So have a good one, guys.